Welcome to another in my series of self-isolating videos. This time I've got the Brigham's factory behind me and I'm looking north along an avenue of trees. The nearest tree which you can see some green leaves from is a sycamore, which is now virtually opened, and beyond that are some plane trees and then a mixture of other species. Thought I'd do something a little bit different today, so I'm going to show you some of the bird books that I first had sort of in, let's say, 1970. So probably the first book I ever received, try and get this in, is the Observer's Book of Birds. Now this is probably a book I looked at more than any other, and I probably got this first before I had any others. And it's got beautiful illustrations by Archibald Thornburn. So just show you the page with skylarks and swallows. So there's a picture of the bird, tells you a little bit about it, and then this one describes the haunt. So now we would say habitat, the nest, how many eggs and when they'll be laid, brief description, what food the bird concentrates on, a description of the song. So for a skylark, this one says, a very beautiful exuberant song carried out on the wing and too well known for further description. There is also a liquid trilling flight note. Then it has the length of the bird in inches and centimeters, and then it tells you about the status, which in this case it says resident. The swallow, and they are arriving now, although I haven't seen one yet. Haunt, very general, often to be seen skimming low over a pond or flying with speed and grace in any open space. Its nest, of course, is of mud, grass and feathers, rather open and saucer shaped, usually on a beam in a barn or similar position. The eggs and the food, insects, chiefly flies caught on the wing. Notes a high, slightly metallic zwit and a twittering song uttered on the wing or from a telegraph wire or other vantage point. The length again, and then this one says summer visitor, April to October inclusive. Although now sometimes they are trying to overwinter in somewhere like Milford Haven, and the other year, 2010 I think it was, over 30 birds were overwintering, and then we had that really bad winter and it wiped out the whole population. The plate shows an adult male swallow with the long tail streamers and then a juvenile bird. Now some of the illustrations, like the two I've got here, aren't too bad at all, but this isn't the case with all the birds, and it's amazing that some of them completely in black and white. So the first ever image of a reed warbler I had was this image in black and white, and then near it is a marsh warbler. Birds that are very alike. So actually they've chosen quite well which birds they would show in black and white. They tend to be not the most colourful birds. So another one here is the nightjar and the swift, both fairly dark birds. So they did choose the birds, the colour plates, they did choose the most colourful birds for those. Now occasionally you could get something that was very badly done. Archibald Thornburn was, generally speaking, a very good artist, but here his green woodpecker leaves quite a lot to be desired. The red is much clearer red than that, and it just looks wrong. But as I didn't see a green woodpecker until one flew up from the ground at Kipling Coat's chalk pit, it wasn't a bird I was familiar with at the time. Much more familiar was the great spotted woodpecker, and here you can see it is also known as the pied woodpecker. So this book would be something I would look at over and over again. We didn't have the internet, but this is probably how I would first identify birds from this book. Not long after that I received from Christmas Bird Spotting, not a very well known book at all, I don't think. It's probably completely unknown now. By the way, these aren't books that have survived from 1970. I looked at them so much that the originals fell to pieces. Again, this was rather a strange book. You could have nice pages like this one, where you would have the green woodpecker, much better illustrated, much more like the real thing. And the great spotted woodpecker, maybe not as good as Archibald Thornburn's beautiful art. This book told you a little bit about it, brief summary, then there'll be lots of blank pages. They could have got more in about the green woodpecker there. The length again, same sort of things, nest, eggs, when they would lay the eggs. What was different about this one is the bit at the bottom where they would give you the names. So they'll give you they'd say Latin here, scientific names better, because Greek was also used for a lot of scientific names. Then we've got the German, the French, and I think probably the Swedish there as well. So that would change from bird to bird. So it's also got Dutch as well, because the other species it would give you in other languages. Just try and show you another page as well to give you an idea. So, well, birds you wouldn't see very often, so let's have a look. So probably for monetary reasons, the golden eagle is just a drawing, which is something you wouldn't see unless you went to a special trip. And the rough-legged buzzard is something that as a beginner you wouldn't see very often. There weren't these news places where they could tell you where to go and see a rough-legged buzzard. You just would have to try and find it yourself. And then the other books that were very reasonably priced at the time were the Ladybird books. This is the garden birds with a pair of bullfinches on the front. I'm just looking for the page on the woodpeckers. It's just on the green woodpecker and the great spotted woodpecker. So they would show you birds from the same family together, but you would never see 3 woodpeckers of 2 species on a tree like that at the same time. So this was for a younger, definitely a younger market. So the opposite page would tell you about the birds. So it tells you how they live, a little bit why, explains what are their unusual feet, which the other 2 books didn't, I don't think. And it tells you about the drumming and the laughing of the green woodpecker. These were all in colour, to show you the lineage as well. So they were, generally speaking, fairly accurate pictures. Just occasionally there'd be an oddity. I noticed their nightingale wasn't very good. I would say their tree creeper isn't too good on this one, although their nuthatch is of better quality. One book which I didn't have at the time, which was probably would have been much better than the others, was this one, A Field Guide to the Birds of Britain and Europe by Roger Peterson. This is a proper field guide, more scientific than the other books. To show you the plate for the woodpeckers. So this is much more wide ranging. So you've got the lesser spotted, middle spotted, great spotted on the top row, a black woodpecker in the centre, and then much rarer, more European, the 3-toed woodpecker on the left, the white-backed woodpecker on the right, and the wryneck on the bottom left, green woodpecker in the bottom centre, and definitely a European species, the grey-headed, on the right. So there would be plates with a bit about them on the opposite page. Doesn't tell you an awful lot about this, more of an identification guide. But here again, even here, some of the birds were in black and white, as these skewers are. Not very colourful birds, so I suppose it was a way of saving money in those post-war years. We might look at some of the Ladybird books in more detail in a future post. So if you are interested, please let me know. Thanks for watching.